Yeah, you're very welcome back. It is time to launch our brand new show, Jer. It is the Player Rating Show. It is the show where we rate players, but not in sport. We're actually going to turn our attention to some other stuff that we've been watching over the last couple of weeks. We decided that you and I are watching Better Call Saul at the moment, so we've decided to delve into season one. For people who aren't following Better Call Saul, for people who intend to follow Better Call Saul, there may actually be a couple of spoilers over the next 15 minutes or so. There's some other fantastic off-the-ball content that may pique your interest if you do want to keep your ears closed. But we are only going to focus on season one.
Yeah,
season one only today, Jer. So, mind you, how far through this entire thing are you? Is there a possibility that I could get my entire thing spoiled? Because I'm only... Oh, you're 3.5.
Nearly,
wow.
Yeah, maybe a bit more. So the trouble when you don't watch something the way it's being released at the moment is that you don't actually remember which season is which. So we've watched this now over the last 10 days, and I had to go back and read the recaps on season one to make sure that I wasn't going to be talking about season two here. I just want to out you here, though, Owen, before we get going. We've been trying to do this for a very long time. We were using the 20th anniversary of the start of The Sopranos as an opportunity to go back and revisit and rewatch. I dutifully rewatched every single episode. You watched about 2 episodes and were like, nah, can't be arsed. This is too complicated and difficult for me.
My brain just isn't big enough, to be honest. I don't know what happened to that. I was really enjoying it. I think I got to about episode maybe 12 or something like that, and it was really, really good. And then I don't know, life got into it, or maybe a big weekend happened or something, and then I went back to work on Monday and had a long week, and I was like, you know what, I'm done with television for the time being. But now is not that time. I have opened the door to Better Call Saul, and I've shut it behind me, and I'm not leaving this house until I get the whole thing done. So I will admit your binge watching capabilities are much better than mine, but I appreciate the issue that you've presented yourself with. I'm sure there are people at home who are well up to speed on Better Call Saul. Just for them, I'm going to give a quick plot recap of where we finished up in season one. I think that's the most important thing. So season one of Better Call Saul introduces us to a whole host of hilarious characters, I think, in the opening episodes. We've got Craig and Betsy Kettleman and their embezzlement case. We've got the skateboarding twins, Lars and Carl, who we've got Jimmy trying to use to get money out of the Kettlemans, or to get business out of the Kettlemans. We've got Tuco making his season one appearance at the end of the first episode and throughout the second episode. And then his associate Nacho as well. We're introduced to him early doors in season one. Midway through season one, the crucial plot point really is when Jimmy takes a bribe off the Kettlemans and uses this money to splash out on that billboard, which is obviously a complete copy of HHM. And as a result of that, there's a cease and desist letter that is brought against Jimmy, and he has to pull off that billboard stunt, which gets him front page news and a hell of a load of business, which mainly constitutes old people. There is that elderly woman who I think is a cracking character, who utilizes Jimmy to write her will, and that just sparks this whole Sandpiper saga off. People will be familiar with the Sandpiper saga who watch the show. I'm not going to explain it, but basically Jimmy gets knee deep in Sandpiper and has to start working on this case with his brother Chuck midway through season one. Now, granted, I'm only midway through season two, but I already know it's a pretty pivotal plot point that it's revealed that Chuck's condition is psychosomatic, and he goes outside accidentally once or twice and is relatively fine. He's obviously a bit of a recluse. He's keeping himself indoors. Later on in the season, then, Chuck obviously screws Jimmy over, and when the case is handed over to HHM, Chuck is going to go back to be a partner on the case. Jimmy is frozen out. That is probably the key plot point near the end of season one, and that is kind of where we leave things up. We've got Jimmy also weighing up an offer from Santa Fe to work with that firm before season two kicks off. The only other thing I'll mention in terms of plot points is, of course, Mike, because there's a plot here that doesn't run in with Jimmy McGill whatsoever, and this is the killing of 2 Philadelphia policemen. He's paid a visit by 2 Philadelphia policemen as well, and manages to get off the hook when Jimmy is his lawyer. So I know that's taken about a minute and a half there, but that is as quickly as I can sum up season one. So we're at the end. Jimmy's about to go to Santa Fe to go back working on the Sandpiper case. But before we get into this, Ger, I think when you turn on season one of Better Call Saul, the first thing you're obviously going to do is compare it to Breaking Bad. First of all, you think to yourself, this is funnier. This is better written in a lot of ways than season one of Breaking Bad. If we are comparing season one with season one, you're straight away looking at this thing thinking this is a raging success.
Breaking Bad operates at a much higher level, I would argue, and you're comparing something that comes after that has had its way prepared by the entire world. So Breaking Bad establishes an entire universe that we can see as consistent, and then this other thing is an add-on to that. So I think that's incorrect. Like, you can't have Better Call Saul without having first established exactly Mike Ehrmantraut. We know what Mike Ehrmantraut is. We know where this is going with Saul and Mike. And when you say it's better written, they don't have to build stuff. There's a shorthand that they can use. So I think that's completely unfair. I think that, like, you got to remember again, Breaking Bad emerged as an absolute phenomenon at a time when The Sopranos was finished, and had Mad Men just started? Was the first season 1 of Mad Men, and then they rolled out Breaking Bad immediately afterwards on AMC as well. Like, these are the best TV shows of all time that we're talking about, and Better Call Saul is not in that conversation.
Oof. Yeah, okay, I will accept that. What I will stress here, Ger, is that I'm comparing early season Breaking Bad with early season Better Call Saul, and I think there is a huge difference. I will admit that the build of Breaking Bad is hugely satisfying.
Is Bryan Cranston not in his pants in a Humvee in the desert, crashing and leaving a message? Is that not the opening scene of season 1? It's been a long time since I watched Breaking Bad, and I might go back and watch it again on the basis of this. But, like,
so it starts on a pretty good height, and then it kind of comes off that, and I think the story certainly is let to simmer for a season and a half after the start of season 1. I'll give you that.
Let me ask you, what did you expect this to be?
I didn't expect this to be as funny as it was. I don't know what I expected, Ger. To be honest with you, this has been very much a quarantine watch for me. I really did not like Saul Goodman in Breaking Bad. When I heard that they were making a Saul Goodman spin-off, I was like, meh. Who cares? I would much rather watch something where Mike is a central character, and granted, he's obviously a central character in this. I could have picked a host of different characters from Breaking Bad that I might have actually had more interest in. I actually just was not that interested in Saul Goodman. I thought he was a bit of a player, a bit of a conman, and other than that, I didn't think he had a hell of a lot of depth. I was very, very surprised that what you then have is something where you have a situation where there's flash forwards and flashbacks, and there's a little bit of mystery around the edges, where there's a bit of grit in certain areas with regards to some of the things Mike is doing. And I guess the most obvious thing to say here, which I probably didn't expect, was the comedic element of the whole thing. But I kind of didn't find Saul Goodman that funny. Like, did you? Did you find Saul to be an entertaining character in the way that he is in Better Call Saul?
No, and I actually don't remember that much about. Like, so I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch the episodes that he was in. There is an episode called Better Call Saul in season 3, I think, and that's the introduction to it. I can't remember what happens to him at the end of Breaking Bad either. Like, I haven't gone back and read those recaps.
He gets sent off to Nebraska, though, doesn't he? That's the whole point of the start of season 1, episode 1.
The Cinnabon. So he's working in a Cinnabon. He's a manager of a coffee shop.
Yeah, so that's obviously a continuation on from that. Sorry, go on.
I didn't know that, but like, here to back you up, right? We watched the first series of this when it came out, and never went back to watch the second season, and we're like, nice. Okay, this is definitely a quarantine watch for us as well, but are pretty happy about it. You know, like, it's there's a mindless, funny release to the pandemic, sitting on your couch watching this.
I think you're being harsh. I think you're being extremely harsh. That is what this is. I will admit that the reason is a quarantine watch, but I'm unbelievably happy that is the reason. Sometimes you need a trivial reason to take something seriously. I'm taking this 100% seriously as a top quality television show. Yes, it is a rung below Breaking Bad in the overall sense, but in terms of an opening season and how it sustains itself, I think it's outstanding. Of course, you're not going to be putting this in the same bracket as The Wire or The Sopranos or Breaking Bad.
I'll tell you, I didn't expect it to be so it's a family drama. It's the row between two brothers is the key plot engine in this whole thing.
Yep.
I didn't expect it to be a legal procedural, so it's a cross between, like, some family drama and Matlock. Do you know what Matlock is?
I did. Like Matlock is actually who Jimmy McGill models himself on midway through season 1. He wears the Matlock suit.
Yeah, but it was like a very popular TV series when we were kids that would have been on one of the 2 channels that the whole country had, and so everybody watched it, and everybody would know the theme tune, for example. But you've never seen an episode of it in your life?
No, I've never seen Matlock. I know Matlock via Better Call Saul.
He's like an old lawyer, a southern gentleman who always wins cases through, the power of his brain, and there's gentle comedy in it.
Yeah, I think that there is. I think there's a lot more than gentle comedy in this. I know that's not what you're saying. You were saying Matlock is gentle comedy, but we might get into somebody's player rating. So we're going to give each of the main protagonists.
There's a bag of Matlock off this. There is. It's absolutely one of the founding texts for the show. Like, he's not just putting the suit on because it's like the lads loved. The writers were. I'm sure. I haven't read this, but they were like, definitely. Oh, how can we make Jimmy win this thing that has everybody surprised at the end of this week's episode?
Well, no, the whole Matlock thing is a comedic vehicle. That's all that is. Like, it's to play into the old people in the.
I tell you, for a generation, it's like, Jimmy's going to win. This is going to end well for Jimmy. I'm telling you, because he's wearing the clothes and he sounds like him and he's dressing like him, and there's like
that's a bit. That's a bit. Like, obviously, that's a bit. That's not like that.
I'm telling you, it's a founding text of the show, guarantee. And okay, they might deny it, but let's wait and see.
But it's up there with him stealing HHM's like ideas and their exact same billboard. Him putting on that suit is up there with that. Like, is it a nod to that for pure comedy value?
It's more than that. It's way more than that.
Well, we'll see. Well, I disagree with you to a certain point. I think you're underestimating what the show is. We will get into the player ratings because this is what we're going to do here. We're going to rate the players from every season. Just on season 1 performances now today, we're going to give a character a rating out of 10 and a little line into them. So I'm just going to lead things off. We go character by character. I've given Jimmy McGill, played by Bob Odenkirk, a 9. An extremely accomplished showing throughout. A few errors here and there, which serve only to heighten his cult hero status. That is my line on the player rating of Jimmy McGill.
I'm giving him a 9 as well.
Why?
He's a good character. 9 in player ratings. There is no science. They're all bollocks. They're made up on the spot, and they're done at the very last second. So I'm giving him a 9. There's no why. I'm giving him a 9. It's a 9. 9 out of 10. It's a 9.
We'll come back to Jimmy in a moment. There's a few things I want to say, but especially in terms of his relationships with other characters. Chuck McGill, played by Michael McKean, who of course is this is Spinal Tap fame. I was trying to think to myself, where on earth have I seen this guy, or what? He pops up in things here and there, but I was like, what is the real text that I recognise Michael McKean from? And of course, it had been a while since I watched This Is Spinal Tap. I've given Chuck McGill a 7, living off past glories, living off scraps from his teammates, a late equaliser for the opposition, which comes against a run of play.
So I made the mistake of putting my player ratings up on the shared document that we were doing this on, and you've just copied my player ratings. I've also got a 7 for Chuck.
I did not read these, to be quite honest with you. These are done entirely independent of yours. But like, Chuck is the definition of a 7. And it's like an upward arc near the end. I think the betrayal is a good thing for a character. We'll move on to Mike. I've given him a 9. The enforcer, not afraid to get stuck into his opponents. Like an electric blanket, comforting and cozy, but a fire hazard if you turn it up the wrong way.
Yeah, so I forgot Mike killed the 2 cops in this season.
It was a revenge killing.
I had him down as a 6. It's clearly an 8.
You got to stick with your original rating, as you say. Player ratings.
No, I've changed my mind. I've now put in as much thought as you should do to player ratings, and I've changed it to an 8. My point about this is Mike hasn't fully evolved yet. Like, Mike is actually probably going to be the most important character in this whole thing. And
are you speaking from like a season 3.5 sort of standpoint here? Because we can't be having that in our season 1 review.
No. I'm just saying that, like, it's when you think about what we know, because of the architecture of the whole season has already been established, because there's been 60 episodes of another series where these people have already interacted. Mike is clearly one of the best characters in Breaking Bad. Mm-hmm. And in the first season, he has to gain revenge for the murder of his son. He has shot dead 2 cops. Like, okay, this is a good character. He should never have been a 6. He's an 8 because he hasn't fully evolved yet, and there's more evolution to come. Like, Where's Matlock, as Christopher asks?
I'm going one third. I think he's up there with Jimmy as an absolutely unbelievable character at a 9. Let's get the next 3 characters because we brought this down to 3 main protagonists. I'll be interested in your ratings here. Kim Wexler, I've given her a 5. A passenger, questionable commitment, clearly an excellent influence on her teammates, but doesn't seem fully invested in the direction the team is going.
I think Kim's badly written. I think she's completely underdeveloped. Like, what is the point of her at this point? You're not even sure if they're in a relationship or not. I've given her a 3. And it's
exactly.
I'm not giving her a 3. I'm giving the writers a 3. Like, she's an excellent actor, but what's her role in all this? And this is one of those things where you hope that there's going to be a payoff later on, and she can have some stories and some scenes and some action a little bit later on.
100%. It's very much fence sitting from the writers on Kim's direction in season 1. I thought, like, a very, very forgettable character, I would have thought. Howard Hamlin, I've given Howard a 3. Posed a big threat early doors, but his menace eased considerably as proceedings raged on. A very weak finish.
I'm giving Howard a 7 because I actually think that he's a perfect, crappy, smarmy villain. Every time he comes on, it's essentially he's wearing a black hat.
Exactly, crappy villain.
You know exactly what's going to happen. Comic relief, and I'm happy with my mark of 7 out of 10.
Comic relief? He's never said anything funny in the entire season.
Look at him. look at how he never actually moves. Look, it's like he's got one of those post car accident traction things that he's got. I mean, he's never worn different clothes in any circumstance at all. It's like, wow, they've painted this guy's character on. So I'm giving him a 7 for consistency.
I will give it to you. The stealing of his look is up there as one of the comedic highlights of the entire season. That doesn't happen unless Howard is who he is.
He's Dennis Irwin, Mr. Dependable.
No, I think the fact that at the end that it's not him that screws Jimmy over, it's actually Chuck, also lessens the appeal that Howard gives to me as well. He's not even a villain. Chuck is the villain. Like, what does this guy even pose? He is himself and Kim, very, very weak for me. And like, this is making me very unlikely to ever watch Law and Order or some sort of law show, because the lawyers, the kind of bona fide lawyers in this are boring.
Yes.
The last main protagonist we want to mention here is Nacho. I've given Nacho a 5, middle of the road. My description: has rubbed with some of the greatest players Albuquerque has ever seen. When will this potential show, though? Season 1 was a mere glimpse of his talents, you feel?
So you feel like he's up from the youth team, has got a bit of a run, Troy Parrott figure almost.
Exactly, with Harry Kane being Tuco Salamanca. And we haven't seen very much of Harry Kane this season. We didn't see much of Tuco in season 1, but he is still by far the best gangster in season 1, whereas Nacho, far more screen time, far less of an impact.
Yeah, I've given Nacho an 8. I think there's...
How can you possibly give him an 8 on first season performances?
There's a depth there. There's something that would suggest that Nacho has a role to play in all this. Like, they didn't just... He's not just a hothead. He's somebody that is listening to what everybody says. Like, he saves Jimmy's life in the scene in the desert when Tuco wants to kill him.
I have that scene down as just pure comedy. In terms of reading much into it, as far as characters go, I'm not quite sure. I think it's interesting that he goes that way, but for me, I think that there's a lot of vagary about him. I have started into season 2, and I know that it's going to get into... He is going to become a far more important character, but I just don't see much of him.
The two skateboarding brothers / are they twins? They end up with broken legs, and you're like, ha 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 ha, comedy. I mean, it was a tough upbringing in the streets of Fireys.
Oh, that season is absolutely phenomenal. The start. So, like, we can go into a couple of other takeaways, and one of the things I think we both agree on this is that the incidental characters in season 1 are just phenomenal. So Lars and Carl, the twins, the skateboarding twins. Like, if you brought them back for a reprise at some point in this, I will not be disappointed whatsoever. You've got Daniel Wormald and the 2 mercenaries with Mike when they're going out to do their first deal with the pills. Those guys, also my favourite characters, possibly. And also Mrs. Ngoyan. He's the guy who's selling the pills.
All right.
And Mrs. Ngoyan, the lady who runs the salon and won't let Jimmy drink the cucumber water. Absolutely top-class character. All of these little moments we get is a thing that props up season 1. A lot, as we've gone through, half of these protagonists are actually shite in season 1. But these guys that come through and flitter around from episode to episode, they are the strength of this whole thing.
Tuco Salamanca, 10 out of 10, steals every scene he's in, really good. You know that there's a menace coming there. You know that he's actually good for the threats that he's making. He's a 10 out of 10. And these incidental characters, I'm kind of very happy to see them.
Overall, you think this is a slow-moving season?
Yeah, it is. It is. The Sandpiper legal case, I'm not into it. It seems like it's a bit of a millstone around the writer's neck where they're like constantly going back to this thing. And like, ultimately, it definitely sends us on a few weird tangents that I would much rather be in with the cartel. Like, so my expectation was that this was going to be the cartel and Jimmy being a lawyer, Saul Goodman, essentially. But Saul Goodman doesn't appear in season 1. I'm not sure if Saul Goodman's going to appear in season 2. I think it might be the middle of season 3 before we get to Saul Goodman. I'm like, okay, I understand that this is the origin story, and I get that now. I get that they're slowly teasing out that if you're going to end up as a completely amoral, ambulance-chasing blot on the arse of humanity, that you're not born that way. You're made that way. You're pushed towards being somebody who will happily represent the worst drug dealers in the world.
Yeah.
And who is that character? How do they get created? And I guess that's what this is. That's not
exactly.
I didn't expect that.
Well, like that's the entire point. That season 1 is a situation where Jimmy is in limbo, where he takes the bribe from the Kettlemans. He gives the money back to the county, though, when it comes to the big wad of cash. And then at the end of the season, he's telling Mike, remind me to never do something stupid that again. Remind me to never do the right thing ever again. So we have a character here who is in limbo. We have this sort of metaphor, which is his con man mate having a heart attack at the end of season 1. Is this the end of Jimmy McGill, the con man? Of course it's not, because we've all seen Breaking Bad. But I'm interested in how this push happens. I think Sandpiper could be a key point in this. Like, we've watched The Wire, and we've seen moments where you're thinking to yourself, why does this story exist, and why are they persisting with this? And then it has an unbelievable payoff. I'm certainly clinging to hope on the Sandpiper thing on that, as somebody who's watched season 1. I think that this could become a vital cog in the entire thing. I think the lawyers are going to become more interesting characters and more rounded characters as the whole thing rages on. And I just think that just sums up the depth that is actually in this show, that you are kind of scratching your head a little bit as to why certain storylines are in there. I'm giving the writers the benefit of the doubt after 1 season. Granted, I'm helped by the fact that everybody raves about this thing who's made it to season 5.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're raving about it if these things are all pointless.
As you said, legal procedurals, Law and Order, if that's your thing, go and watch 27 episodes.
Yeah. Jimmy McGill, though, or Mike, MVP for season 1 of Better Call Saul. We'll do another one in a couple of days. I'm going to turn up the ante on it a little bit, Ger, and try and catch up to you.
Right. That's it. We're done. That's your player ratings are done. They're in the books.